What happens when artificial intelligence doesn't just change the way a GCC works, but changes what a GCC actually is? For 2 decades, global capability centers have evolved from cost centers to technology and capability centers, and now into strategic business engines. But we are entering a new chapter, GCC 3.0. And this time, AI isn't just another technology. It is changing the workforce, operating model, leadership, decision-making, innovation, and even the economics of the GCC. India has reached about 2,117 GCCs, 3,728 units, 2.36 million professionals and $98.4 billion in market revenue, according to the one of the report. In another research, the analyst highlights, approximately 67% identify talent retention or skill gaps as a limitation to becoming innovation hubs, while more than 75% say AI, automation has moved beyond experimentation toward business outcomes. The question is no longer whether GCCs will adopt AI. The question is whether AI will fundamentally change what a GCC is. And the provocative question underneath the discussion. Will GCC 3.0 be defined by how much AI it uses or by how much business responsibility it owns? Good morning, everyone. Let me begin with a simple question. Why were global capability centers created in the first place? The answer, historically, was fairly straightforward. Cost, access to talent, scale, operational efficiency, and perhaps most importantly, 24x7 global delivery. That was GCC 1.0. We built centers that could execute technology, finance, HR, engineering and business processes at scale. Then something changed. The GCC stopped being simply an execution arm. It started owning platforms, products, analytics, cybersecurity, cloud, digital transformation, R&D, enterprise architecture, and increasingly, business outcomes. That was GCC 2.0. But today we are entering something fundamentally different. GCC 3.0. And GCC 3.0 is not simply GCC 2.0 with generative AI added to it. That would be too simplistic. GCC 3.0 represents a change in the role of the center itself. The GCC is increasingly becoming an enterprise intelligence engine. India now has more than 2,100 GCCs, employing approximately 2.36 million professionals and generating nearly $100 billion in revenue. So this is no longer an offshore experiment. It is a significant part of the global enterprise operating model. Next question is, what happens when AI becomes embedded into that operating model? To understand this, we will understand GCC's transformational journey in 5 transformational aspects. Let's begin with the first transformation, from people scale to intelligence scale. Historically, the GCC equation was more work, more people. More business, more employees. More transactions, larger delivery teams. And now, AI changes that equation. Now the question has changed and people are asking all about, can we create more value without proportionally increasing headcount? Can one engineer, augmented by AI agents and automation, deliver the output that previously required 5 engineers? Can finance operations move from processing transactions to predicting exceptions? Can cybersecurity move from monitoring alerts to autonomous response? Can software engineering move from writing code to managing AI-assisted product development? Can an HR organization move from answering employee questions to predicting workforce requirements? This is the beginning of GCC 3.0, but there is an important distinction. AI adoption does not automatically create an AI-native GCC. In fact, we have to distinguish between AI-enabled GCC and AI-native GCC. An AI-enabled GCC takes existing processes and puts AI on top of them. Whereas, an AI-native GCC redesigns the process itself around AI. Interestingly, that is a completely different proposition. For example, imagine a traditional service desk. The old workflow or model is as follows: employee raises a ticket, service desk receives the ticket, engineer investigates, engineer resolves, and ticket closes. An AI-enabled model may add a chatbot, whereas an AI-native model asks, why does the employee need to raise a ticket at all? Can the system detect the problem? Can an AI agent diagnose it? Can it resolve it? Can it learn from previous incidents? Can it escalate only when human judgment is required? So part of AI-native model, that is not just automation. And you can call it as reinvention. The second transformation, from project ownership to product ownership. This is perhaps one of the biggest changes happening inside leading GCCs. Historically, headquarters said, here is the project. Deliver it. And GCC used to deliver as directions. But GCC 2.0 changed that to, here is the product. Help us build it. And now, GCC 3.0 increasingly says, we own the product. That means the GCC is responsible for the product lifecycle. Strategy, architecture, engineering, AI, data, security, operations, continuous innovation, and increasingly, business outcomes. And that is a massive shift in accountability. Now, the GCC leader is no longer simply managing a delivery organization. The leader is becoming an enterprise business leader. Third transformation, from technology center to business co-creator. This is where GCC 3.0 becomes particularly interesting. The traditional separation was that the HQ understands business and GCC understands technology. This separation is almost disappearing. The best GCCs are bringing business, technology, data and AI together. To understand this better, let's imagine a global bank. Bank's GCC isn't merely maintaining the banking platform. It could own fraud analytics, customer intelligence, risk platforms, AI models, digital products, and potentially significant elements of the business capability itself. Similarly, in manufacturing, a GCC may not just support ERP. It can build digital twins, predictive maintenance platforms, supply chain intelligence, and AI-driven quality systems. So the GCC becomes part of the enterprise's innovation engine. Fourth transformation, the rise of the AI workforce. This is where things become uncomfortable because AI does not only create productivity. It changes the workforce equation. The future GCC workforce will probably contain three categories of workers: humans, AI-assisted humans, and AI agents. And the challenge for GCC leaders is to determine their roles and responsibilities, where each should operate. Do we need a human? Do we need a human augmented by AI? Or can an AI agent perform the task under appropriate governance? This creates an entirely new operating model. The GCC workforce of the future may therefore be smaller in some areas but significantly more productive and specialized. That means the traditional GCC growth metric, how many people do we employ? And perhaps, this question may become almost meaningless. Equation with time will change the question to, how much enterprise value do we create per employee? Fifth transformation, from efficiency to measurable business impact. This is perhaps the most important change. For decades, GCC success was measured through cost savings, headcount, utilization, SLAS, productivity. Today those metrics are not enough. The CEO wants to know, did we accelerate revenue? Did we reduce risk? Did we improve customer experience? Did we launch products faster? Did we increase engineering productivity? Did we improve the resilience? Did AI actually create measurable value? The GCC therefore needs a new scorecard. I would suggest 5 dimensions: value, velocity, innovation, intelligence, impact. Not simply how efficiently the GCC works, but how much the GCC changes the enterprise. The opportunity is enormous. India is uniquely positioned for this transformation. We have scale, technology talent, AI talent, engineering capability, huge global experience, a more mature and stable GCC ecosystem, a strong startup ecosystem, and increasingly, GCC leadership that understands global business. But there is a warning. We should not assume that India's historical GCC success automatically guarantees GCC 3.0 success. Because the competitive advantage is changing. Earlier the advantage was talent jod cost jod scale. Increasingly the advantage will become talent jod AI jod IP jod data jod business ownership jod speed. That is a very different game. And that leads to the central question: if GCC 1.0 was about cost, and GCC 2.0 was about capability, then GCC 3.0 must be about ownership and intelligence. What does ownership define GCC 3.0? Ownership of products, ownership of platforms, ownership of intellectual property, ownership of AI, ownership of business outcomes, and eventually, ownership of decisions. So I will leave you with one question for the rest of this discussion. Are we building GCCs that use AI, or GCCs that are fundamentally redesigned because of AI? Because those are two very different futures. Another important topic in this series, let's understand the GCC reality check. What can go wrong? This should be the most provocative speech. Don't make this another AI celebration. Talk about the uncomfortable issues. The data is already pointing to the problem. Many GCC consultants has highlighted talent retention or skill gaps as a major limitation, while other 2026 research highlights the gap between widespread AI adoption and measurable business impact. Are we really transforming GCCs, or are we simply putting AI lipstick on old operating models? The GCC reality check, the problems we don't talk about. Let me take a slightly different position. We have heard about the opportunity, GCC 3.0, and it all sounds fantastic, but I want to ask a difficult question. Are we actually ready for GCC 3.0? Because there is a danger in our industry. We talk about AI transformation much faster than organizations actually transform. We announce AI. We launch pilots. We create centers of excellence. We conduct hackathons. We deploy copilots. We build dashboards. And then 6 months later someone asks, where is the business value? That is where the real conversation begins. Problem number 1, AI pilot theater. One of the biggest problems today is what I call AI pilot theater. Everyone wants an AI initiative, but very few organizations redesign the underlying process. We have hundreds of pilots, but pilots don't transform enterprises, whereas scaled adoption does. The real question should be asked that, how many business processes did you fundamentally redesign? Because there is a huge difference. Problem number 2, the talent paradox. We have millions of technology professionals. Yet the shortage is not necessarily of people. The shortage is of the right people. AI requires a different combination of skills. You need data, cloud, AI engineering, cybersecurity, model governance, domain expertise, architecture, product management, and increasingly, business judgment. The problem is that the traditional talent pyramid is being disrupted. Historically, junior engineers used to become middle layer and then senior architects. But AI can dramatically increase the productivity of junior and mid-level professionals. So the pyramid may become flatter. We may need fewer people doing routine engineering and more people who can make complex decisions. That creates a major reskilling challenge. And it also creates a leadership challenge, because if we don't manage this transition carefully, AI may create anxiety rather than innovation. Problem number 3, the fear factor. Let's be honest. People are worried about AI. They hear, AI will automate work. They ask, will my job disappear? And that fear cannot simply be addressed through an AI training course. Employees need a new career proposition. The message should be that your job is going to change, and we will help you become more valuable. That requires serious investment in reskilling, and not just certifications, or real capability building. Problem number 4, HQ versus GCC tension. Here is another uncomfortable subject. The GCC may become more capable, but does headquarters actually want to give it more authority? That is the question. You can give the GCC 10,000 engineers, $1 billion budget, AI capability, great technology, but if every strategic decision still has to go back to headquarters, you don't have GCC 3.0. You have a very sophisticated delivery center. The transformation therefore requires a change in decision rights. Who owns the roadmap, architecture, product decisions, AI models, the data, especially the budget, and who should be accountable for business outcomes? Certainly, without clear answers, GCC transformation will stall. Problem number 5, the innovation paradox. Many GCCs are asked to innovate, but their KPIs are still operational. Utilization, cost, headcount, SLA, tickets closed, projects delivered, etc. How do you create innovation with an efficiency-only scorecard? Certainly, you can't. In real world, innovation requires experimentation. Experimentation requires failure, and failure requires psychological safety. Therefore, GCC leadership needs to rethink its performance model. Problem number 6, data is the hidden bottleneck. Everyone talks about AI, but AI without good data is largely theater. Many enterprises still have fragmented data, legacy systems, poor data ownership, inconsistent definitions, security restrictions, data quality problems, and disconnected platforms. You cannot build enterprise AI on top of bad enterprise data. So the AI transformation agenda must actually start with data architecture, data governance, quality, data accessibility. Problem number 7, AI governance. Now we come to an even bigger issue. What happens when an AI agent makes a wrong decision and who is accountable? The developer, business owner, GCC, global CIO, AI platform? Or nobody? This is unacceptable. The more autonomous AI becomes, the more important governance becomes. Most certainly, we need model governance, data governance, security, privacy, human oversight, auditability, bias monitoring, regulatory controls, and clear accountability. Because the future is not simply autonomous AI. It is trusted autonomous AI. Problem number 8, cost may come back through the back door. There is another misconception. AI automatically reduces cost. Not necessarily. AI infrastructure costs money. Cloud costs money. Data costs money. Models cost money. Cybersecurity costs money. Specialized talent costs money. Governance costs money. And AI experimentation can become extremely expensive. Therefore, the GCC needs an AI business case. In summary, we expect this investment to create X amount of business value. That is the discipline we need. Problem number 9, GCCs may become too internally focused. There is a strange irony. The GCC is created to serve the global enterprise. But sometimes the GCC becomes obsessed with itself. New building, new branding, new core, new innovation lab, new awards, new certifications, new headcount. But the customer doesn't care. But the business cares about outcomes. So we need to ask, what problem are we solving for the enterprise? And not just, what capability are we building for ourselves? Problem number 10, geography is no longer enough. India's advantage has historically been talent and scale. But the global GCC landscape is becoming competitive, and gradually other countries like Mexico, Poland, Eastern Europe, Latin America, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa, and other emerging locations are straight away building the talent pool. So India cannot simply say, we have talent. The new proposition must be, we have talent that can create enterprise value faster. That is a much higher bar. So what is the real GCC 3.0 risk? The biggest risk is not AI replacing GCCs. The bigger risk is GCCs failing to transform while the enterprise transforms around them. Imagine a GCC that continues to operate with 2005 processes, 2015 operating models, 2020 KPIs, and 2026 AI tools. That is not, in true sense, called as GCC 3.0. That is an old GCC with new technology. And that distinction is critical. Then, what should GCC leaders do? I would focus on 6 things. First, redesign work before automating it. Second, build skills, not just headcount. Third, give GCC leaders decision rights. Fourth, measure business outcomes, not activity. Fifth, create responsible AI governance. And sixth, build a culture where humans and AI work together. Because the future GCC is not going to be human versus AI, they would be more, and it will be human jor AI jor data jor domain expertise jor autonomous agents. That is the new operating model. So perhaps the most important question for every GCC leader today is not how much AI are we using? In fact, it is, what are we willing to change because of AI? Because transformation begins when the organization is willing to change the operating model, not simply the technology stack. Third important topic is the AI-native GCC, designing the GCC of 2030. This is where we will deep dive and discuss operating model, talent, governance, technology, AI agents, ecosystem, leadership and metrics. As per research, around 70% of GCCs plan to invest in agentic AI within 2 years, while 81% expect to use technology providers, startups and professional services partners for specialized capabilities. We have heard 2 sides of the story, the opportunity and the risks. So let me bring it together. If we agree that GCC 3.0 is coming, what should we actually build? My answer is simple. We should stop designing GCCs as organizations of people performing processes. We should start designing GCCs as systems of intelligence. What does that mean? Imagine a GCC where people define strategy, AI agents execute routine work, data provides intelligence, automation orchestrates processes, humans make critical judgments, and technology continuously learns. That is the AI native GCC. We will discuss about key 6 pillars in this aspect to learn more. On this topic, Pillar 1. Start with business outcomes. The first principle is very simple. Don't start with AI. In fact, start with the business problem. Instead of saying, we need a GenAI strategy, we should ask, where can AI create measurable enterprise value? Let's understand with an example. Can we reduce software development cycle time by 40%? Or, can we reduce fraud losses? Or can we improve customer conversion? Can we reduce incident resolution time? Can we predict equipment failures? Can we accelerate drug discovery? Can we reduce financial close time? Some fundamentally strong questions, these are business questions. And AI becomes the strong enabler in this aspect. Pillar 2. Redesign the operating model. The old GCC operating model was functionally organized. Finance, HR, procurement, and operations, whereas the future GCC will increasingly organize around capabilities and products. Platform, data platform, customer intelligence, digital engineering, cybersecurity, automation, enterprise platforms, industry solutions, and business products. This allows talent to move across business problems rather than remain trapped inside functional silos. Pillar 3. Build the human AI workforce. We need to completely rethink workforce planning. Instead of asking, how many people do we need? We should ask, what work needs to be done? Then classify the work, human-led, AI-assisted, or AI agent-led, and fully automated. Human judgment remains essential for strategy, ethics, complex decisions, relationship management, innovation, leadership, but routine work should increasingly be automated. The result may be a smaller workforce in some areas, but a much more capable workforce overall. Pillar 4. Create AI-native talent. The future GCC talent model needs 3 layers. Layer 1 AI builders, Layer 2 AI translators, and Layer 3 is AI-enabled workforce. Pillar 5. Build the AI platform. Every enterprise should eventually think about an AI platform layer. Data, models, vector databases, AI orchestration, agents, security, governance, monitoring, knowledge management, and integration. Because if every department creates its own AI stack, the enterprise will create an AI version of the same silos it already has. With this enablement, the GCC can become the place where these capabilities are industrialized.